romance and love have you found?
How about yours? Do you want to get married? Maybe I'll propose. What do you guys think?
What do you guys think? Do we make a good couple? What's your life like as far as romance and love? Have you found?
How about yours? Let's turn this around.
No. Well, okay, honestly, I'm very busy. I work a lot, so I haven't found any time.
That's how it is for me. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, you travel a lot, and it's tough. But
the women want to know, Bill. They want to know if you're,
I am single.
available
I'm single,
guy.
And it's been a good year. So
good.
We'll see. I'm 33. When I find the right one, it's the right one.
All right, fine.
I might be
Bill.
too old for you. You need those young guys, right?
No.
Those young California surfers.
No, I don't like that. No. I like a businessman.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, you're great. We're just very busy. We're both very busy.
Right. But you make time.
Okay, fine. We'll make time. You are auctioning off the car you won on The Apprentice.
I am.
I'm in the market for a convertible. Your convertible. Where do I go to get it?
And it's a live auction, so the opening bid's $1, and it's just going to go up from there. And I'm going to personally deliver the keys to whoever wins the car. So I'll be driving the car up to your driveway. Hopefully it's your driveway.
Hopefully. I'm going to go right online immediately. Now, you said there was a navigational system?
Yes. I haven't figured out how to use it.
Oh, I was going to say, you might want to erase it in case you have your primary address in there.
Right.
That's the first thing I would look at.
But if you get the car,
yes, there we go.
You're more than welcome to come over anytime.
Thanks, Bill. If I get the car, the first thing I'm going to do is be like, previous destinations, looking up his address. I won't. Yes, I will. No, I won't. You seem to like kids, Bill.
I do. I have 7 nieces and nephews.
What?
Yes.
You're kidding.
Believe it? No.
7. Are you the only sibling that doesn't have kids?
I'm the youngest, and I'm the only boy.
You got to get on this. Do you see kids in your future, Bill?
Of course, many kids.
I'm a hard-hitting interviewer,
yes, you
aren't
are.
I?
Yes. At least in a third world country, you get a blindfold and a cigarette before they start firing at
you. Wait, let's see what else. What other personal questions can I ask Bill? Are you finding it harder to meet girls now that you're well known? Like to be like, what are you really looking for?
Well, I mean, I think it's certainly. You just have to be careful.
You gotta be careful.
You know how it is. Now that you're the anchor.
Out of control. Yes, the big anchor. Wait, this is so fun, but I guess I'll have to stop. Okay,
pulling
so
down
you're
the big bucks now.
Well, I gotta ask you. We always see you
looking to be
in
a kept man. I want to retire.
I think you want to get married. What sign are you, by the way?
Taurus.
Taurus.
And you?
Leo.
Really?
We're good together.
That's good.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just throwing that out there. We're good together. Have you seen Closer?
No. I saw $1 Million Baby, though.
Oh, you did?
I thought it was great.
But let me rewind one second. Have you seen Closer?
No.
No?
Have you?
No. We should see
Tonight.
it. It's a
We're
date.
on, baby. I'll pick you up at 8.
All right. That's it.
Do you want to get married? Maybe I'll propose. What do you guys think?
What do you guys think? Do we make a good couple?
say yes a lot. American dream is not one dream. It's many. It's a beacon calling out to dreamers everywhere.
Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free.
It shows us where we've been.
Lifting as we climb, struggling and striving.
And it sets our sights higher.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It inspires us to achieve.
Knowledge is power, more so today than ever before.
And it's an invitation to dreamers around the world.
For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
What's your dream?
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Bethany Bentley, and I'm here to welcome you to the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream. This is a place where this theater showcases amazing technology, and it kicks off the question that we ask everyone when you walk in our doors: what's your dream? And when we ask people what their dream is, we go into a second question. We ask, what do you need to fulfill it? For us, there are four things. You need access to health. You need access to, to entrepreneurial spirit. You have to have access to finance and financial literacy, and also a great education. So with those four things, we feel like anyone can pursue their talents, their dreams, and that's what we're here to do, is help people see how that can be done together. This is a collective effort, and we feel like it's really important that we all join together and help each other out. So to that end, we have today with us Jay Jordan, who is a founder of the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream, and has founded this amazing series for us of conversations with entrepreneurs, people who have pursued their dreams and fulfilled them. And then they have built out these. This is the very first one we're able to have in our new center. That was the other part. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Jay Jordan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bethany. As Bethany stated, I'm one of the founders of Milken's American Dream. Mike and I go way back to the 80s as great friends. When Mike conceived of this great institution, he asked me to sign up as a founder, which I did. And he and I tried to figure out how I could become more embedded in the process. And we came up with funding the speaker series, which conveniently is being called the Jordan Speaking Series. And I'm Jordan. So here we are. The whole theme of this center and the whole focus of our speaker series is on free enterprise democracy, entrepreneurship, education, philanthropy. And every speaker that we bring in, embedded in their whole personas, is that theme. And today we are very fortunate to have the Rancics, who are good friends of ours. And I'll give you a little background. You probably have heard of them because they've been involved in television. As a matter of fact, Bill was the first winner of the American Apprentice, if you remember that series on TV. And they've built very impressive platforms and have become very successful entrepreneurs. Together, they've launched and grown several ventures spanning media, restaurants, wine, fashion, and lifestyle brands, all with a focus of the thematic entrepreneurship that we're talking about. They will be accompanied by their moderator, who is visiting us from Chicago, and Rebecca. And so Here we go. Come on.
Hello.
Hello. We can do better than that. Come on, guys. Yeah.
We're gonna have fun. Yes.
On behalf of Giuliana and Becky, we want to thank everyone at the Milken Institute. This has been an incredible experience. And we also want to thank the Jordan family. Amazing people, amazing human beings. And Jay is someone I look up to and is someone I aspire to be like. So, Jay, thank you for inviting us to be the first speakers here at this wonderful institution. So thank you.
Thank you. And Gretchen Jordan, too.
Yes.
Who I love and adore as well.
I love her too.
Thank you both. Thank you for having us. And thank you all so much for being here on a Friday afternoon. We couldn't appreciate you more for being here today. And we're going to have fun. We're going to tell some stories. And thank you to our very dear friend Becky, who's a journalist who came out from Chicago to moderate this Q&A. So thank you, Becky.
Well, few people embody the spirit of the American dream quite like this power couple here. They have turned talent, resilience, and hard work into extraordinary success. So Giuliana, you were born in Naples, Italy, and moved to the US when you were a little girl. Can you take us back to that moment in your family's story? What brought your family to America? And what do you remember about those early years as you were adjusting to this new country?
Yeah, so I moved to this country as a little girl. I come from a nice, modest upbringing in Naples, Italy. I'm very fortunate. My parents are here with me today, Anna and Eduardo. And they are just the most, what'd you say? Oh, sorry. The clicker. Thank you, Bill. Oh my gosh, micromanager. So I'm kidding. I love you so much. But my parents are here today, and actually,
you stand up, Eduardo and Anna.
Eduardo and Anna. And there's Mama DePandy and Papa DePandy.
They are the American dream.
So if it weren't for these two amazing humans, I would certainly not be sitting here today and have had all this incredible opportunity in this great country as I've had today. And so my parents, to give you a little background, they each come from one of 6 children in Naples, Italy. Very, very modest, humble beginnings. So modest, in fact, that they both had to basically walk away from school at the age of 13 to work and to make money in their homes. And so my father actually was given the choice. His father said to him, Eduardo, you can either work in a butcher shop or a tailor shop. And my father picked the tailor shop. And that was actually at 11 years old, he started working in a tailor shop in Naples. And at 88, he still has a tailor shop in Chevy Chase, Maryland, where he goes every single day. And so, as you can imagine, everything that I was able to set my mind on and achieve in this country was really watching my parents work so hard and really live out that dream. But I'll never forget, we had an opportunity to come to America. My mom had 2 brothers who moved to America and became very successful in the restaurant business here in Washington, D.C. And we came to visit them for a 2-week vacation. We had no intention of moving to America. And we pull up to my Uncle Giulio's home, and he has this beautiful home. Now, this is a guy who came from, we really didn't come from anything. And he has this gorgeous home in Washington, D.C., and in the driveway is a Rolls Royce. And my dad goes, we're moving to America. He goes, if Giulio got this car, I'm going to achieve the dream too. If Giulio can make it. And Giulio had this beautiful life, and the kids went to this great school. And he was chasing that dream in the 80s. And we did the same. My dad opened up a tailor shop, which led to a bigger shop, and just worked day and night. And at a very young age, they taught me, both of them, that there are no shortcuts. People always ask, what's the secret to success? And it's hard work. And so I really definitely watched that. And so as a little girl, I would say my biggest challenge is moving to this country where, I didn't speak the language. Here we are, actually. This is our first house. When we moved out of D.C., we lived in Virginia, in Springfield, Virginia. And I just had these amazing parents. And so, I was in a public school in Washington, D.C., and no one spoke Italian. So obviously the teachers didn't speak Italian. So I learned English actually watching Sesame Street and the news, the local news. And that's how I learned to speak the language. But it definitely took some time to get used to, but I loved it. I was very happy to be here.
Now, Bill, you grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago as the son of 2 school teachers. What were those early years like for you? And is it true that even back then, there were signs of the entrepreneur you would eventually become? I've heard there's a great pancake story.
There is. Thank you, Giuliana, for putting a picture of me getting a mugshot. Clearly, I had nothing to do with the photo montage.
What did you
My
get
dad's friend was the police chief, and they took me there to probably... so thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry.
Yes, so I grew up in Orland Park, Illinois, the mean streets of Orland Park, Illinois. My father was a superintendent of schools. My mom was a principal. And when I was 10 years old, my parents were going to go celebrate their big wedding anniversary, and they were heading up to a town called Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So they shipped me off to my grandmother's house for the weekend, and I wasn't happy about it. And I woke up Saturday morning, and there was my grandmother. She was in the kitchen. She was making me breakfast. And I was probably like many of you. I was very inquisitive. And I would always ask a million questions. You know, how does this work? You know, why are you doing that? So she decided to pull me in the kitchen that day and teach me how to cook. And that particular morning, I spent 7 hours in her kitchen mastering the art of making pancakes. I could make a blueberry pancake, banana pancake, you name it, I could make it. So I went to bed that night, and I woke up Sunday morning, and I raced out of bed, and I ran into my grandmother's kitchen. And the first thing I did is I picked up her old rotary telephone, and I called every old lady who lived on my grandmother's block, and I invited them to come over for a pancake breakfast. These women loved it. They thought it was the neatest thing they'd ever seen. I'm flipping these pancakes in the air. I was putting on quite the show. So they ate their breakfast and they left, and when they left, I started clearing their plates away from the table, and I made a rather interesting discovery. I found that each and every one of those ladies left a $5 bill underneath her plate. I said, I'm onto something here. So I took the money, I put it in my pocket. I didn't say a word to my sisters. And I went back home, and the week went by, and Friday afternoon, that school bus dropped me off in front of my parents' house. And I went blazing in the front door, demanding that my mom take me to my grandmother's for the weekend. Well, this went on for the next 5 weekends. My mom couldn't quite understand this new relationship that I'd formed with my grandmother. I probably should say partnership. And then she was in my room one day, and she was putting something in my sock drawer, and she made a rather interesting discovery of her own. As any mother out there would be, she found a stack of $5 bills to the tune of a couple $100 in my sock drawer. And she immediately summoned me to come up and sat me down, and she demanded to know where a 10-year-old boy was able to come up with all this money. And I had to fess up I was running a makeshift restaurant out of my grandmother's house. She put that business to an end immediately. She claimed I was fleecing these old ladies out of their Social Security checks. So that was my start to becoming an entrepreneur, and I worked my way through college washing and waxing boats in a town called New Buffalo, Michigan, in Michigan City, where Gretchen is from. And when I got out of college, I took a job selling metals for a company. And I'd been on the job about 5 months, and I'd watched a fellow who'd been there for 30 years. He was the first guy in the office. He was the last guy to leave. He got fired for no other reason than greed. And I watched this guy pack up his office, and they marched him out to the parking lot, and it hit me right here. And I said, I'm never going to let that happen to me. And I left that office determined to start my own business. And I searched, and I searched, and I searched, and I was sitting at this outdoor cafe, and these 3 European guys sat down at the table next to me, and they pulled out these ginormous cigars. Now, I'd never smoked a cigar in my life, but I said, I'm going to start the first ever Cigar of the Month Club. I'll send out 5 cigars to your home each month. I'll generate a newsletter to teach you about these cigars, and I'll put a little gift card in the box as well. So I left the cafe, and I ran over to my buddy John's apartment, and I pitched him on the idea, and he was on board. So we came up with about $24,000 between the two of us. I moved back home with my parents, and we decided to make our world headquarters in my buddy's 400-square-foot studio apartment. And I got some used desks in there, and I got some computers, and I got 7 1-800 phone lines piped into this little apartment. And we were ready to kick this business off. But there was one thing I had to do. I had to go in, and I had to quit my job at the metals company. And I went in, and I sat down with the 2 owners, and I said, I'm going to be a millionaire one day, and this is my idea. And you know what they did? They laughed. They said, that's the most ridiculous idea we've ever heard, kid. It's so ridiculous, we're going to keep your office here, because when you run out of money in 6 weeks, we're going to hire you back, but with a 20% pay cut. Boy, I was so upset. And I left there determined to prove these guys wrong. And I said, the only way this is going to work is if I can reach the masses. So I went back to that little apartment where our headquarters was, and I sat down at the used computer I got from my brother-in-law, and I typed a letter. And in the letter, I explained how the Cigar of the Month Club worked. And at the end of the letter, I asked for help. And I put the letter inside an envelope, and I put the envelope inside of a box because I knew people would always open a box before they open a letter. And then I put some cigars in that box. And then I went to a local costume shop, and I bought a pair of these thick Coke bottle nerd glasses that you might wear on Halloween. And I taped a little note on the bridge of those glasses, and the note read, "Please take a closer look at my business idea." And I put the glasses on top of the cigars that were on top of that letter, and I sealed the box up, and I made 10 of them. And I sent them out to the top 10 morning radio shows in Chicago. And lo and behold, a week later, I get a call from the producer of the #1 morning drive radio show in 1994. It was the Jonathan Brandmeier morning radio show. Anyone from Chicago might remember him. And she called me up and she said, "Brandmeier will have you on the air for 5 minutes." She said, "Make your 5 minutes count." So I go to the John Hancock Tower the day I'm supposed to, and I'm all nervous. And I meet this Brandmeier guy. And my 5 minutes turned into 35 minutes at the heart of morning rush hour. And he starts telling his listeners how he's been a member of this Cigar of the Month Club for years. I'm like, oh man, I don't have a lawyer yet at this point in time. Like, I'm in trouble. But he knew how to market because he kept giving my 1-800 number out every 15 or 20 seconds. So I finished the interview, and I sprint back to our world headquarters. It's about 3/4 of a mile. And I kick the door open, and I see my partner, John. He's got one phone on his left ear, one on his right ear. Every phone in that apartment is ringing. And I reach over, and I pick up the first phone I can get my hands on. And I take an order from this woman, and she orders a 12-month subscription to the Cigar of the Month Club. I literally had to stop, and I had to say, "Ma'am, are you sure? Like, it's $40 a month." She was sure, so I hung up the phone, and I looked over at my partner, John. I said, "John, looks like we're going to be in business for at least a year because we've got a 12-month subscription we need to fulfill here." So that was my start. And from there, we picked up 1,000 members, and then 4,000 members, and then 8,000 members, and then 10,000 members, and it kept growing and growing and growing. And then I was able to sell that company in 1999, and I moved on to getting into real estate and other business ventures.
What a story.
Sorry, it was long. Sorry.
It's a good one. It was worth it. Giuliana, while Bill was running his pancake business, did you always know that you wanted to be on television as a child? I've heard there was a DC anchor that was inspiring to you.
Yes, that's right. So we lived in Bethesda. I grew up in Bethesda. We eventually landed there. And I would come home from school every day. And I would actually, like a lot of people, I would watch Oprah Winfrey after school. And I would watch her show. And that was really my first memory of watching someone who asked questions that I wanted to know the answers to. And so I would watch Oprah for an hour, and then I would go up to my room and had a full-length mirror in my closet, and I would sit down with my video camera, and I'd have a fake microphone, like a hairbrush, and I would ask questions into the camera, pretending I was interviewing whoever she just interviewed, and what would I ask them. And so I started doing that, but I honestly never thought I would ever have a career in that. It's just something I enjoyed doing. And then at night, I would watch the evening news with my parents, and there was this incredible anchor woman here, Barbara Harrison. Yes, right? Yes, I know. Barbara Harrison on NBC. And Barbara Harrison, I remember being a young girl, and she would look at you with those eyes, and she spoke in sentences that were easy to understand, but were informative, and she was so articulate. And what was so wild was I always gave her credit, all through college and my career, that it all started with Barbara Harrison and watching her and learning from her through the television screen. And then when my father opened his most recent store in Chevy Chase, guess who walked through that door? Barbara Harrison. And it was a handful of years ago, and she walked in, and I just remember, I go, "Oh my God, Bill, my idol's here, Barbara Harrison." And I walked up to her, and I just burst into tears. And it was just such a full circle moment. But it was very exciting. And so I think watching Oprah Winfrey, now suddenly starting to learn that, wait a second, I could actually, this is like a career, this is a job, people can actually do this for their lives. And so I went and studied journalism at the University of Maryland. I was in the Maryland. Yes. I believe the dean is here. Well, hi, how are you? It's such an honor. And so I went to Maryland undergrad, which was fantastic. I mean, that was really my first kind of like foray into this, oh my gosh, like, wait a second. Now I'm learning everything about this. I was learning to edit, how to do live reporting, all of it. And then I loved Maryland so much and my experience there so much that I went on to American University and received a graduate degree in journalism in DC. And actually in DC at the American University, there were only 16 of us in the broadcast program. And we had the most incredible access all over Washington, DC. This is the late 90s. And, you know, one day I'm at the Supreme Court, one day I'm at the White House reporting. And right before graduation, we each got to sit down with the dean, where he would advise us on our futures. And he goes, Giuliana, what do you want to do? I go, well, you know, I'm going to apply to all these, you know, small news stations and Capitol Hill news bureaus. And he goes, have you ever thought about going to Hollywood and getting into entertainment news? And I said, what? How dare you? You know, like, wait a second, I'm a hard-hitting journalist. And he's like, actually, I've been watching your segments, and it's amazing how you have this ability to just turn every serious news story into a comedy, you know, for 2 minutes. Like, you know, I'd get like lost at the Pentagon. I'm running around the Pentagon. And he's like, you can't, this will never be on CNN. So bottom line is, this was a shock, but at the same time, thank goodness for his very honest feedback, because that's what I did. A week after graduation from AU, I moved to Los Angeles. It took 5 years of, like, I'm talking every assistant job, hostessing at restaurants, you know, personal assistant, mailroom at a talent agency for a long time. And then one day, E! Television called me, which was my dream. I'd sent them my tape for 5 years, and they never called me. And then one day, they were hiring a new reporter for E! News, and I got the call. I got an audition, and I was hired a year later.
So while you were reporting on pop culture at E!, there was a new show debuting starring Donald Trump. Bill, The Apprentice, was the #1 show on television when it came into our homes. How did you get on that show? And did you think you were able to win that business competition?
Great question. It all happened kind of randomly. I had no aspirations of being on television. A girl I went to college with, her mother worked in the television industry, and she called me up one day, and I just sold the cigar company, and she said, there's a new show on NBC. It's a business competition show, and they're looking for young entrepreneurs, and if you win, it could be a big deal. And I said, oh, that's great, but I'm not really interested in being on a reality TV show. This is when reality TV shows were just starting out. I said, can you send me an email, and I can take a look at what this is all about? And she said, no, I can't. I made you an appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock. You better be there. And she was a tough woman. You didn't want to mess with her. So I go to this meeting, and they start explaining the concept of The Apprentice, where we're going to start a new business from scratch each week, and there's going to be a winning team and a losing team. And they had 215,000 applicants. And they narrowed it down, and they narrowed it down, and then they picked the final 50, and they flew us all to LA, and we had to go through a week of testing. IQ tests, psychological tests, the most thorough medical exam of my life. Like, I don't know why. And then at the end of that week, I got called into a room with a guy named Mark Burnett, and you're not going to believe this. He said, Bill, thank you for coming. You are going to be picked as the alternate. So they picked 16 people. I was the 17th person chosen, right? You remember when you were a kid and you were the last one picked for the football team? It's even worse when you're the alternate, right? And lo and behold, someone failed the drug test, and they got booted. And they called me up from the bench, and we to New York City, and our first task is to sell lemonade in the middle of Manhattan. And I'll never forget that moment, because I looked up at the heavens and I said, oh Lord, I'm in a suit and tie on Fifth Avenue selling this lemonade that's not fit for human consumption. Like, no one is ever gonna take me seriously in the business world again. And then the challenges got more complicated, and the sleep deprivation started to kick in, and you could tell those who had that American dream in their belly, right? Those that really wanted to make the sacrifices for what was necessary. And one by one, the competition started to fall by the wayside. And then before I knew it, I looked to my right and I looked to my left, and there was only one other person standing there. And it was just my luck the guy had his MBA from Harvard. Brilliant guy, really smart guy. And we battled it out in the final round. And in front of 30 million people on live national television, I got hired on. And it was a moment I will never forget. But my victory literally lasted a moment, because as soon as I got hired on, I got whisked away by these handlers, and I had to go on a 2-week tour of all these talk shows. Larry King and the Today Show and Jay Leno's show. I did all the talk show circuit. And I did that for about a week, and I finally made my way back home to Chicago. And I was in my family room, and it was the first time I had experienced any peace or quiet in literally months. And I remember thinking to myself, why me? There were 215,000 people who started this. Why was I the last person standing? And I thought about it long and hard, and I came up with 3 reasons why I think I won, and I think these are why people can achieve the American dream. And the first one is I understood and I embraced the term practical execution. What does that mean? Well, ever since I was a little kid, my dad used to tell me, actions speak louder than words. Show me, don't tell me. And most people are going to go through life and they're going to talk one hell of a game. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to start this company. I'm going to climb this mountain. But 99% of them don't do it. Secondly, I knew the importance of being agile. I knew that I had to adjust and adapt my strategy and my management style based on the challenge I was given. So many people just followed the way the textbook taught them. They didn't know how to pivot and adjust. And thirdly, it was about risk. It was about understanding risk, respecting risk, managing risk, and converting risk into success. So that was my start.
Amazing story. So Giuliana, while Bill was having this incredible experience on national television, on The Apprentice, you were also building your own career at E! News, living out your dream. And of course, that job ultimately led the two of you to meeting.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I was anchoring E! News, and like so many people, I watched that first season of The Apprentice. It was like the big show. It was like Survivor and Apprentice. It was really the beginning of these big reality competition shows. And I was watching week after week, and the first episode, I sat with my best friend, Colette, who's still my best friend today, and the show started, and it all of a sudden, Bill popped on the screen. He's like, "Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm from Chicago." He's got the skyline behind him.
Like that.
And I went,
That was a little news anchory.
and I went, "Oh." And then Colette goes, "Oh." And we like look at each other, and she's like, "He's so your type." And I go, "He really is." And a lot of information here. And I was like, "Oh, okay, but let's focus on the game." And we noticed that Bill just played the game week after week with such class. You know, he flew under the radar. He wasn't involved in all the drama. He just kept his eye on the prize. And so we were rooting for him every week. And in the end, when he won, I walked into the newsroom at E! And I said, "Hey, I went up to the assignment desk. I said, I have been watching this show very closely, and I think I'm probably the most equipped person on the E! News hard-hitting journalism team to go interview the new winner of The Apprentice, Bill Rancic." And Maureen Heaton, who was our assignment editor, God rest her soul, great, great young woman, looked up at me and she went, "You're so transparent." She goes, "I love him too." I go, "Yeah, Maureen, you got to give me the job." She goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll give you the job." So I go out to interview Bill, and right before I go do the interview, I do what any hard-hitting journalist does. I Google Bill Rancic girlfriend, because I gotta know, right? What am I dealing with?
Hard-hitting journalist.
And I swear, I knew he was single, but I was like, let me just make sure, you never know. And all of a sudden, this picture pops up of Bill and this girl on the red carpet. She was okay. And
No.
And I said, "He has a girlfriend? Wait, what? When did I miss this?" So I went back to the news desk. I said, "Maureen, I'm coming down with something." She goes, "You're joking. You're going. I don't care if he has a girlfriend. You're going out there. Go do an interview." I said, "Okay, fine. I'll go interview Bill."
It explains a lot, because when I got to this interview, I'm like, man, this is a really just negative energy. She's like looking down, like didn't want to be there, right? And when I tell you, it was the most miraculous transformation I have ever seen a human being make when she found out I didn't have a girlfriend. The arms came uncrossed, hand touches my leg. You have to see it to believe it, and I've got evidence. So can we roll the video?
Where does he have evidence?
Do you want to get married? We're going to propose. What do you guys think?
Do we make a good couple? What's your life like as far as romance and love? Have you found?
How about yours? Let's turn this around.
No. Well, okay, honestly, I'm very busy. I work a lot, so I haven't found any time.
That's how it is for me. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, you travel a lot, and it's tough. But
the women want to know, Bill. They want to know if you're,
I am
an
single.
available
I'm single,
guy.
and it's been a good year. So
Good.
we'll see. I'm 33. When I find the right one, it's the right one.
All right,
I
fine,
might be too
Bill.
old for you. You need those young guys, right?
No.
Those young California surfers.
No, I don't
Really?
like that. No, I like a businessman.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, you're great. We're just very busy. We're both very busy.
Right. But you make time.
Okay, fine, we'll make time. You were auctioning off the car you won on The Apprentice.
I am.
I'm in the market for a convertible. Your convertible. Where do I go to get it?
And it's a live auction, so the opening bid's $1, and it's just going to go up from there. And I'm going to personally deliver the keys to whoever wins the car. So I'll be driving the car up to your driveway. Hopefully it's your driveway.
Hopefully, I'm going to go right online immediately. Now, you said there was a navigational system.
Yes. I haven't figured out how to use it.
Oh, I was going to say, you might want to erase it in case you have your primary
my
address
home.
in there.
Right.
That's the first thing I would look
But
at.
if you get the car,
Yes, there we go.
you're more than welcome to come over anytime.
Thanks, Bill. You know, if I get the car, the first thing I'm going to do is be like, previous destinations, looking up his address. I won't. Yes, I will. You seem to like kids, Bill.
Oh, wow.
I do. I have 7 nieces and nephews.
What?
Yes.
You're
Can you
kidding.
believe it? No.
70. Are you the only sibling that doesn't have kids?
I'm the youngest and I'm the only boy.
You got to get on this. Do you see kids in your future, Bill?
Of course, many kids.
I'm a hard-hitting interviewer,
Yes, you
aren't
are.
I?
At least in the third world country, you get a blindfold and a cigarette before they start firing at you.
Wait, let's see what else. What other personal questions can I ask Bill? Are you finding it harder to meet girls now that you're well known? Like to be like, what are you really looking for?
Well, I mean, I think it's certainly. You just have to be careful.
You gotta be careful.
You know how it is. Now that you're the anchor.
Yes, the big anchor. Wait, this is so fun, but I guess I'll have to stop. Okay,
Pulling
so
down
you're
the big
going.
bucks now.
Well, I gotta ask you. You know, we always see
I'm
you
looking to be
in
a
suit
Kent
and
man.
tie.
I want to
I think you want to get married. What sign are you, by the way?
Taurus.
Taurus.
And you?
Leo.
Really?
We're good
Ooh,
together.
That's good.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just throwing that out there. We're good together. Have you seen Closer?
No. I saw $1 Million Baby though.
Oh, you did?
I thought it was great.
But let me rewind 1 second. Have you
Okay.
seen Closer?
No.
No?
Have you?
No. We should see
Tonight.
it. It's a
We're
date.
on, baby. I'll pick you up at 8.
All right. That's it.
She used her job to find her husband, basically.
Meanwhile, the dean of University of Maryland Journalism School is here, and he's probably like, that's what the degree got you. Yes, that and more, that and more.
That is such a gem to be able to see that. Incredible. So after this, I understand about 10 months later, you were engaged. Yes. And rumor has it you even received some engagement advice from someone everyone in this room would recognize. Can you share that story?
I did. I got engaged, and the next day I got a call from President Trump, and he said, "Hey, Bill, congratulations. Giuliana's a great girl. I've been watching her on TV for years. Get a prenup."
So romantic.
So I call her up. I said, "Hey, I think, good idea. We should get a prenup." She goes, I agree. So my lawyers draft up these contracts. We're going back and forth for months. And then my lawyer calls me and he says, I've been practicing law for a long time, and I just got a request from her side of the council, and they request that a cheating clause go in. If you get caught cheating, she gets 110% of your net worth.
Thank you.
Not 100.
Not 100.
And I said, put it in. That's fine. I don't cheat. And then a week later, she calls me up, and she says, my attorney told me to tell you that Italian girls don't sign prenups. Her attorney was her older brother, Pasquale, who did not go to law school. So.
But he might as well have gone to law school. Great legal advice.
Well, soon after you began sharing your lives with the world through your reality show, Giuliana and Bill. To many people watching, it looked like a fairy tale, newly married, successful careers, exciting lives. But as we all know, life is rarely as perfect as it appears on television.
Yes. So basically, we just thought by sharing our reality show with everyone, first of all, when we signed on for a reality show with E, we said, we'll do a reality show, but it's got to be a positive, family-friendly reality show, because there were so many kind of, negative reality shows out there. And they said, sure. And we said, what's the worst that can happen? We're going to move into a new house, white picket fence, have 3 kids, the whole thing. And before long, we realized that it wasn't all as easy as we had thought. In fact, we struggled for years to have a child. We went through in vitro fertilization. And it was actually when we flew to Denver, Colorado to a new IVF doctor that we were going through some of the protocol he recommended and required of his patients. And he said, okay, we're ready to try this, but Giuliana, have you gotten your mammogram? And I said, well, actually, I'm 36 years old. I didn't think I needed to get a mammogram yet. He said, I require all my patients to get a mammogram because, listen, what I do is I try to get, we try to get you pregnant. And if you, God forbid, have the type of breast cancer that is fueled by estrogen, the last thing I want to do is get you pregnant. So I require all my patients to get a mammogram. And so I went ahead and did that, and I thought, I'll never forget, I walked out of the Tower Imaging in Beverly Hills after the mammogram, and I thought, see you when I'm 40. And not so fast. I got a call the next day. They said, we need you to come back, which led to a biopsy. And about a week later, I walked into Cedars-Sinai and to get my results, and the doctor looked at me and said, I am so sorry, but you do have breast cancer. And to say that was, the shock of a lifetime is an understatement, but it was a huge shock. And Bill and I got together and had to make a plan together of what I was going to do next. And trust me, I know I'm keeping this short, but you can only imagine the layers involved. And in the end, I finally decided to do a double mastectomy after doing a lumpectomy. And, it was a very tough time, as you can imagine, but before the cancer, we had already done an egg retrieval with our doctor, and we decided, you know what, we need something to look forward to because this is such a hard time. So we said, let's get a surrogate, and we want to move forward with having a child because we already had gotten the embryos. And so we did. So while I was getting my mastectomy and going through that, we had this amazing thing to look forward to, hoping that we would have a baby in the next year. And what's kind of crazy about all of that is that when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was September 2011. In August 2012, our son Duke was born, not even a year later. And what was so wild was in 1 year, in the course of 11 months, I had the worst, darkest day of my life when I found out I had breast cancer, to the greatest, most amazing day of my life when I saw my son be born. And it was just a real testament to how just incredible life is, right? And that there really is a bigger plan. And I remember when we were going through IVF, there was a lot of why? Like, why aren't we getting pregnant? Like, why isn't this happening? And you start to question everything in life. And the why came out because when I got my pathology report after the double mastectomy, I did have estrogen positive cancer. And what's wild about that is if I had gotten naturally pregnant, and when we were, for all those years, we're going, why isn't this happening? What did we do wrong? It was actually the opposite. Because had I gotten pregnant, I don't know if I'd be here today. I would have had that cancer fueling inside of me through kids and, and all the hormones. And it is amazing how life you just never really know what's around the corner. So it was an incredible
I remember when our son Duke was born, I turned to Giuliana, I said, he's going to be able to get away with a lot of mischief because anytime he gets into trouble, he can say, Mom, I saved your life. Yeah. And it's so true.
And there he is. He's just wonderful.
Well, that's him many years ago.
Taking him through.
He's 13 today, and he loves Jay Jordan. He reminds me that I'm not Jay Jordan all the time. Well, Jay has that, Dad, and Jay went to Notre Dame, and Jay gets a golf cart at the football games, Dad. And
but he's a little entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's a very entrepreneurial kid.
Yeah,
so.
He has a little golf stations wherever he goes. He's he's a great kid, but we just adore him you know him. And so he's just a great little character, and he's 13 now. It's pretty amazing.
So one of the things that's so remarkable about your story is that despite these deeply personal challenges, you have never stopped building, creating, and growing professionally. You've launched several businesses, ranging from the G by Giuliana, which is one of the top performing lines at the Home Shopping Network, together with your Prosecco brand and restaurants across the country, and now the Mama DePandy food line. So when you're evaluating a new opportunity, what makes you say yes?
I think a lot of people, when they're evaluating opportunities, they let fear get in the way. And interestingly enough, I read that when we're born into this world, we're only born with two natural fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And every other fear we have is learned. And I think so many people are afraid they're going to fail. They're afraid they're going to make a mistake. They're afraid what their friends or their colleagues are going to say about an innovative idea that they never even try. And I think that's the biggest failure of them all. And when I was growing up, my parents instilled in me, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to have failures, but it was never okay not to try something. And I think that's the most important thing. You know, you can't, it's easy to talk yourself out of things, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, you're not only business partners, but you are life partners. What's it like making business decisions together, and how do you divide your roles?
I think the main thing is really noticing, like, what are my strengths and weaknesses and what are Bill's strengths and weaknesses, and how do we merge those so we make them all strengths, right? Like, take his strengths, my strengths, and put those together. So every business we have together, we really look at that and we're very honest about it. Sometimes honesty hurts, but it's okay. And I think but the foundation of why we're able to do that and not get our feelings hurt, you know, we've been together 20 years now, and I remember when we first got married, we had a little tiff. And it was, you know, those tiffs when, like, you're supposed to both go to the movies together, but then one goes alone. And, like, Bill sat in the movie theater by himself, which is, like,
that in my life.
Never a good sign when you go to the movies alone. And he comes home, and I'm kind of, like, you know, upset, looking out the window. And Bill goes, "Are we going to talk about this?" And I say nothing. He goes, "You're not going to talk to me?" And I just say nothing. And he goes, "Well, you better say something, because you're stuck with me for the rest of your life, honey. I'm not going anywhere."
She didn't sign the prenup.
And I'll tell you, I think that just hearing those words from your partner is, like, very powerful, because ever since then, I've always known that no matter what, no matter if it hurts my feelings or this or that, you know, we hurt each other's feelings, what my strengths are, his strengths are, how we go about business, we always know that we're, like, in it forever. And so it's okay, you know, we kind of keep going. So I think that reminder to tell your significant other that and remind them of that, even if you think they know that, it's powerful. It's important. You know, it allows us to stay true to each other and keep going.
And finally, if you could go back and give your younger selves one piece of advice before the TV shows, before the businesses, what would you say?
You know, I think it's interesting, and I'm not even saying this because of where we're sitting today and the theme of this incredible establishment. But, you know, I'm truly a result, first-generation result of the American dream and coming to this country as a little girl. And Bill will tell you this, no dream is too big for me. Like, I have never, ever thought that I can't do something. And I think that is half the battle. And I don't know where that came from at a young age. Well, I guess these two right here. You know, I truly never think, like, when I see someone else achieve something, I'm like, wow, good for them. Like, I can do that too. I never think, like, I can't do that because they had X, Y, Z. Never. Like, and I'm talking about not just stuff in my wheelhouse, stuff out of my wheelhouse, like things that I have no business getting into, different businesses.
I wanted to invent a pillow with a built-in eye shade the other day.
I'm still doing it. Okay. And I'm not an engineer. I have no idea how to patent something, but that to me, I'm like, I would never be like, well, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to patent something. Like, forget that. I will, like, learn about it, right? And so I just think that that's the biggest thing, and it's something I think we all have in common, is just, like, getting past that little thing where we think we can't do something and know that we can do something. Because there are millions of examples in history of people who have just exceeded everyone's expectations. And so it's like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? And so I think everything I do it with excitement, because I feel like I'm going to do this. And they don't all work, but at least I tried, and it's kind of fun trying. So no dream is too big. And I would remind myself of that as a little girl.
I think in order to have the American dream, you have to understand the value of potential. And I think when we're born into this world, God gives us a certain amount of potential. And it's up to us to make it grow. It's up to us to make it multiply. But so many of us don't do anything with it because we listen to other people, right? The majority of the people you come into contact with on a daily basis are negative. And they're going to try to pull you down in order to build themselves up because they wish they had your drive, your vision, your work ethic, but they don't. So you have to be aware of who those people are in order to negate their power. And I look back about 20 years ago, someone I got to work with on The Apprentice, and Giuliana got to work with on a show called Fashion Police, Joan Rivers. And she was someone who I really felt embodied the American dream and understood the power of potential. And she died about a decade ago. And Giuliana and I were at her service in New York City, and it was the funniest funeral I've ever been to in my life. Okay, Howard Stern opened it up, and it went downhill from there.
She wanted it that way.
Yeah. And after the service, about 100 of us got invited back to her apartment on Park Avenue. Fifth Avenue. And I noticed that when we were at this reception, about 80 of the 100 people had these little stick pins on their lapel of a bumblebee. And I turned to Giuliana and I said, "What's with all the bumblebees?" And she goes, "I don't know. Joan always considered herself a bumblebee." And we stayed for another hour, and we went back to the hotel, and it was still on my mind. And I opened up my computer, and I went to Google, and I typed in bumblebee. And the first thing that popped up, I got it. You see, when you Google bumblebee, the first thing that comes up is the bumblebee, by all reasonable laws of physics, is never meant to fly. Its wing-to-weight ratio should prohibit it from ever getting liftoff from the ground. But no one ever told the bee that, and the bee flies. See, Joan was the bee because they all said, "You can't host a late-night television show. You're a woman. It's never been done." She did it. They said, "You can't sell $100 million worth of jewelry on the Home Shopping Network." She did it. She didn't let people tell her whether she could or could not achieve the American dream. And that truly is what it's all about. And I like to end every presentation with this. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I've got two of the toughest people I've ever met in my life, Eduardo and Anna DePandy, right here. They never quit. They never gave up. They believed in the American dream. They put all their kids through college. They became millionaires in this country. And I think it's truly a testament to what this country has to offer. It is the greatest place on earth.
Yes, and I just want to say one thing about my mom real quick. You know, my mom raised us while my dad achieved his dreams. And she watched me and my sister and my brother achieve our dreams. And what's incredible is launching a food line at 80 years old. My mom looked at me and said, "Giuliana, I can't believe it. Like, now my dreams have come true at 80 years old." And that is a testament right there that it is never too late. And
available at Harris Teeter, Kroger, Ralph's. We're in about 4,000 stores right now. Go out and get it.
A businessman right here. But it is true, and only here could you do something like that, right? Only in this country, and that is truly the American dream. So
thank you folks for having us.
Beautiful way to end that.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, Becky.
We're going to end the live stream now, and now we're going to open it up to some questions from the audience.
Yes, sir.